Yes, I reserved an entire video for the Dark Knight Trilogy. It's worth it because there's certainly a lot to talk about. The Dark Knight Trilogy has been hailed not only as some of the greatest superhero movies ever made, but is often considered one of the greatest trilogies ever made. The Dark Knight in particular is considered by some to be one of the greatest movies of all time. It's made a shit ton of lists. I can't really say I disagree with them, actually, I agree with them. I would consider the Dark Knight Trilogy to be one of the best trilogies ever. To be fair, there isn't much competition. We've got like the original Star Wars trilogy and like Toy Story and Lord of the Rings and Godfather maybe. At least Dark Knight is consistent. Godfather 3 fucking sucks a nut.
Dad? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you... You don't have to do this to me, please. Dad?
No! So after Batman and Robin was made, the entire world simultaneously went, we never want to see anything remotely Batman related ever again. Can't say I blame them. I never wanted to see a movie at all after watching Batman and Robin. The movie caused mass suicides around the world. Everyone who didn't kill themselves suffered from PTSD. So it took about 10 years for someone like Christopher Nolan to step up and say, we need to make a new Batman movie. And this time, I'm not letting you studio ruin everything. I'll take care of it. So Chris Nolan and David S. Goyer teamed up to make Batman Begins. If there is any reason Batman is as prevalent in our culture today, it's because of this movie. I'm not saying this movie doesn't have its problems, particularly with casting.
I never stopped thinking about you. About us. And when I heard you were back, I started to hope.
Nah, fuck you, bye.
But this movie is really badass. It made everyone go, holy shit, Batman is awesome again. By doing something no other superhero films were really doing, making Batman realistic. They stepped away from the cheesy one-liners and the campy action scenes and made Batman dark, kind of like he should be. Now, I'm not saying making every superhero realistic instantly makes it better.
And in an ironic twist, it's also one of your, most realistic movie that you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's the fun of the movie is that when I was thinking about how to make the movie, I really wanted to make Superman, you'd feel it.
But sometimes it works. It certainly worked with Batman. Not Aquaman, though.
You'd feel it.
So what makes this movie so awesome?
They scream and they cry. Which is your game now?
Number 1, realism. The movie gives logical explanations to why and how Batman is able to become Batman. Every question you had when you watched the previous Batman movies, such as who built the Batmobile or who made the suit, is explained in this movie. How did Bruce Wayne learn to become a badass who knew karate? He was trained by the League of Shadows and then ran away when he realized that they were out to cause more harm than good. How did Batman get all his gear? It was already made by a tech guy at Wayne Enterprises named Lucius Fox, as part of a failed army project, where they wanted to design special suits, vehicles, and weapons for the army. He also ordered additional equipment in bulk, so that companies selling it to him weren't suspicious. He also bought everything separately and put it together later.
It's a problem with the graphite, sir. The next 10,000 will be up to specifications.
At least they gave us a discount.
Why does Batman talk like a long-time smoker with Down syndrome? Well, you got me there. I've tried giving reasonable explanations as to why Christian Bale does the Batman voice like that, but honestly, those are excuses. Batman sounds fucking stupid.
Where were the other drugs going?
It has been parodied by almost everyone to a certain extent. I guess Bale and Nolan liked it, or maybe Nolan was like, can you not do that? And Bale freaked out on set again. I don't know, I wasn't there. Number 2, more drama, less action. Alright, this kind of leads to another kind of complaint I have with this film. Ready? Watch this scene. I'm gonna read your mind, ready? As you were watching the scene, you thought to yourself, what the fuck is going on?
What the hell are you?
And that's because the action in this movie is really bad. The car chases are okay, but the hand-to-hand combat is really bad. This is a blessing and a curse because yes, the action is bad. That's probably because Christopher Nolan isn't a good action director. But this can also be a good thing because since the action sucks so hard, Chris Nolan doesn't focus on it as much. He instead focuses on the more interesting stuff, like characters, and the story, and the unraveling of events, and the setting, and stuff that makes a movie good. The problem with having action is that movies often have too much action. And when a moron who doesn't know what he's doing is given $200 million to make a movie, he chooses to focus on shit blowing up instead of what actually makes movies, movies.
The most challenging aspect is sort of that combination of, to me, getting the emotion and insane scale, to kind of live in the same world.
So the lack of action or the lack of good action is made up for by a story that's interesting and good scenes of characters interacting. Lots of great dialogue and funny lines, and as a result, lots of great scenes. When people talk about the great scenes in this movie, they don't talk about the scene where Bruce jumps out of an exploding building. They talk about this simple exchange of information between Lucius and Bruce.
So what do you think? Does it come in black?
Menacing villains. The villains in this movie are actually threatening. I know, crazy, right? They don't just yell for no reason.
You won't kill us yourself!
They don't just want to take over the world. They just think Gotham is a shithole, and it's bringing down the rest of the world, and they're just gonna take it off the map.
Gotham's time has come. Like Constantinople or Rome before it. The city has become a breeding ground for suffering and injustice. It is beyond saving and must be allowed to die. This is the most important function of the League of Shadows.
No, fuck you, bye. And this is before that whole villains use gas to take over the city subplot was overused by movies like Spider-Man.
Used a radioactive isotope to genetically engineer these super spiders.
Good, got it, great, good.
As if I even have to say it, Liam Neeson is great in this movie. He's super threatening and badass when he needs to be. The reveal that he is Ra's al Ghul is nice. And he's just Liam Neeson. Scarecrow is pretty cool in this movie, even though he's not in it a lot. The scenes where Scarecrow is in it are really good. I mean, he's not a super scary villain. Like, one of the scariest villains ever is defeated by Katie Holmes and Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Are you here to help?
For an interesting main character with an arc. This is something that, every movie should have, but for some reason every movie doesn't have. Bruce's parents die. That fucks him up, makes him angry, and it makes him want to seek revenge. Then he's trained by Ra's al Ghul, he learns some good things, and he learns, look, I just gotta fight crime and defend the people.
Your compassion is a weakness your enemies will not share.
That's why it's so important. It separates us from them.
It's kind of like what a movie does. 5. Music. The music in this movie is awesome, and it makes up for the shitty action sequences. Because even if you don't know what's going on, there's this awesome music playing in the background. Gets your heart pumping. Number 6, art design. Some people say that making Batman realistic is a detriment because all of the interesting comic booky designs of the characters and the vehicles and the city are gone. Well, this movie makes up for that shit by going the opposite direction. Of course, the Batmobile can't be this, but that doesn't mean he has to drive a fucking Volvo. Chris Nolan said, give him a tank instead. Well, he has a regular car too. I can't pronounce the name of it. It's some foreign thing. I wonder what that means in English. Oh. You clever devil, you. Realism doesn't have to take away from beautiful art design. The Batsuit looks great. If you ask me, it's the best iteration of the Batsuit so far. It's certainly better than this thing, and this. He can't even move his goddamn head. Whenever he turns, he has to turn his whole body. It looks like he's got like a neck brace on. This suit is so much more awesome. You can't make Gotham stylized, sure, but they can make up for it in scale. The city feels huge, and this is present in all three films. A fantastic thing about all three of these movies is that Chris Nolan used as little CGI as possible. Chris Nolan is a very practical guy. He shoots everything on film, he uses practical effects, and when he absolutely has to use CGI, he blends it in perfectly with practical effects and makes sure it looks good. This is something that almost every filmmaker has seemed to have forgotten. That no matter how hard you try, sometimes CGI just looks like shit.
Good. Got it. Great. Good.
So try to shoot as much practically as you can. I don't know, superhero films now are like watching a fucking Pixar movie. There are probably like 5 scenes in the Avengers that actually have like actors in them. The reasons this movie's awesome doesn't just apply to this movie, it applies to all 3 Dark Knight films. Those are the basic things that make this series what it is. And each film, it builds on these things. So what does Batman Begins do that separates it from the other 2 movies? Well, therein lies the problem. The problem is that Batman Begins is kind of dated, and watching it again now, it's not as good as I remember it, and it's not as good as the other 2. It's not as well acted or as dramatic as The Dark Knight, and it's not as epic or as much of a spectacle as The Dark Knight Rises. It's still a good movie, don't get me wrong, but it's not as great as it once was. I still praise this film highly for the things it does well, but now we have 2 other Batman films that do what this film does a little bit better. What I'm trying to say, definitely watch this film, but it won't be as good as the other 2. I still like it. Don't kill me, fanboys. So there's a little movie that came out in 2008. It grossed about $1 billion. It's called The Dark Knight, and it's freaking awesome. For some reason, there are people who don't like this movie, so before I even begin to explain why this movie is one of the greatest movies ever, let me explain why it doesn't suck. First of all, like the last movie, the movie does everything right. It's realistic and dark, even more so than the last one. The human drama is fantastic. And Batman's arc, as well as Harvey Dent's arc, is incredibly fascinating. Also, unlike the last movie, the action is fantastic. I don't care who you are or what you think about this film, there's no denying how fucking amazing this car chase is. Not only is it incredibly cool, but there is little to no CGI used in the sequence. Everything is done practically. The only thing that was computer generated was the Bat Pod coming out of the Batmobile and the helicopter crashing. Yes, they actually lifted a giant truck off the ground. And listen to the sound design. This scene is so beautifully done, and it's easily one of the best action scenes to ever be put on film.
Is that a bazooka?
And like the last film, the villains are extremely well done. Before I even talk about the Joker, which can easily take up this entire video, I'm going to talk about Harvey Dent. The Joker was so good in this movie that everyone completely forgot about how fantastic Aaron Eckhart was as Two-Face. To me, he was just as menacing as the Joker.
Remember that name you all had for me when I was at Internal Affairs? What was it, Gordon?
Harvey.
Say it.
Say it!
Two-Face. Harvey Two-Face.
Why should I hide?
The Joker tries to make a point how people can be easily corrupted, and no matter who you are, human beings can be turned into monsters. We're all selfish, cruel beings who panic easily and are always out to hurt others for our own personal gain. Harvey Dent is the prime example of this. Now, I know Joker's plan isn't as interesting as, Ultron's plan. But you gotta admit, it's pretty fascinating. The Joker is terrifying in this movie. Almost every human on the planet agrees with me. Heath Ledger is the best part of this movie. Some people even say he's the only good thing about this movie. I wouldn't go that far. I would agree to a certain extent that the Joker is the best thing about this movie. Every scene with him is perfect. But to say that this movie's only good because the Joker's in it is bullshit. They make it seem like every scene without Heath Ledger was directed by fucking Brett Ratner, with like actors from the Lifetime movie, and then every time Heath Ledger came on screen, they got fucking Scorsese and Kubrick to team up to shoot it, and all the actors suddenly got incredible. Like, I agree, Heath Ledger's great in this movie, but it's not like the second he leaves the frame, the movie turns into complete shit.
Strength now.
Partners?
Partners.
Courage always.
Partners.
Family above all. Batman and Robin.
People have also complained that Batman isn't interesting in this movie. I'm sorry if you feel that way, but I don't feel that way at all. The movie, and especially the end of the movie, capture exactly what Batman is supposed to be and why Bruce Wayne does what he does. To me, The Dark Knight is more of a character study than a crime thriller or a superhero movie. Harvey Dent, the Joker, Bruce Wayne, Rachel, Commissioner Gordon are all very interesting characters, and the best part of this movie is when you throw two or more of them in a situation and see what the outcome is. It's called, drama. And it's the reason this movie works so well. So sorry if there isn't enough action, sorry if it's too dark, sorry if the plot feels a little loose, which granted it does. I mean, the Joker just kind of does shit randomly. But the fact of the matter is, the movie didn't want to do any of those things. For me at least, this movie works 100%. Now that I explain why this movie doesn't suck, let me explain why it's good. Actually, I guess I just kind of did that. Get two birds with one stone. I also want to address one more thing. This is something that people have complained about in Dark Knight, and especially Dark Knight Rises. People have complained about the realism. For some reason, people began to think that Batman is like a crime drama or a realistic crime thriller like CSI or some shit. So people have complained about every little plot hole or whenever something isn't realistic. Like, I've never seen these movies as like, this is happening in real life. I've said it's more realistic, but more realistic doesn't equal real. These movies are like in the middle of fantasy and reality. Some things are realistic and some things are a little exaggerated. I'm not gonna treat this like LA Confidential or something like that. I'm not treating a movie where a billionaire dresses in a bat suit and chases after a clown in a tank like a real life crime drama. Chris Nolan has created a world that's very practical and believable. It pisses me off when people start treating it like it's based on a true story. It isn't. You'll have to suspend disbelief for certain things. Like a machine that could turn all the water in an entire city into vapor, or Joker somehow managing to dress all his men like soldiers without anyone noticing. My brain just goes like, oh, they must have figured out something. And I don't think about it any more than that. You can call me a hypocrite or a dumbass fanboy for thinking like that, I guess. But when people point out stuff like, what was the Joker's plan? Wait, he wanted to get caught? I thought the original plan was for Batman to reveal who he was, and once Harvey Dent revealed that he was Batman, Joker was gonna go kill Harvey Dent. But Joker's plan failed when it was revealed that Batman wasn't Harvey and that Gordon was alive. So if the Joker knew he would get captured and knew he would rig one of his own men to blow up so that he could kidnap the Asian guy and escape, then he must have known that Harvey wasn't Batman, that Batman was someone else, and that Gordon wasn't dead. Joker even thought Harvey was Batman.
For a while there, I thought you really were, Dent. The way you threw yourself after her.
So maybe he thought for a little while, then he changed his mind, then Joker thought, I'll stage an attack on Harvey Dent while he's being transferred, then I'll get arrested, so beforehand I'll stick a bomb in a guy's stomach, use a piece of glass that just happened to be there to hold a guy hostage, and get a phone call, use that call to blow up the station so it will kill everyone else except for me for some reason, then get the Asian guy, then escape. You could just be like me and go, Joker's smart, I guess he figured something out. It wouldn't be very dramatic if Joker explained the whole plan, really. Like, who cares? Not me. If Joker had a 10-minute scene where he explained how he was able to escape, or how he got into the ceremony with no one noticing, or how he was able to get bombs on boats, would it add anything to this movie that's already 2.5 hours long? No? Exactly. Shut up. Joker just kind of does shit randomly whenever he feels like. There's no rhyme or reason to anything he does. He even says this.
I'm a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. You know, I just do things.
This stuff really could have happened in any order. He could have been caught and arrested in this scene. Maybe he just told his men, I'm gonna do shit, and when I eventually get caught, send in the fat guy with the bomb in his gut, and I'll escape. Joker could have died in this scene right here. He doesn't give a shit if he dies. Why am I still talking about this? After Dark Knight, everyone was like, where's the next Batman movie? Chris Nolan held the studio hostage when he was like, I'm not making another Batman movie till I make Inception. So that took up 2 years. Then Warner Brothers was like, okay, you made Inception and you proved that people will go see a film that's not a sequel or a reboot or an adaptation if it's well written and interesting. Good for you. Can you make the next Batman movie now? Everyone speculated, what's the next Batman movie gonna be called? Batman Beyond? Batman Earth 1? What comic is it gonna be based on? Is the Joker gonna be in it again? Played by someone else? Is Johnny Depp gonna be the Riddler? Is Philip Seymour Hoffman gonna be the Penguin? Then the first trailer came out, and the title was revealed to be The Dark Knight Rises. Oh, they added an extra word to the original title. And Bane is in it. Oh. Who? Regardless, I was pumped to see this movie. After months of build-up, I saw it, and it's a good movie. Not as good as Dark Knight, but better than Batman Begins. It's well acted, and Batman is a terrific character once again. This is the final movie of this series, so they didn't really focus on the villains as much. They were more focused on Batman. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was good as Robin, Officer Blake. Anne Hathaway was fucking awesome as Catwoman. She's the best character in the whole movie, if you ask me. Bane is a really good villain. I liked his voice a lot. It's always loud, and it's got, like, a lot of bass. Of course, people made fun of his voice, like they did with Batman. I'm even guilty of this. I used, like, a Bane soundboard and harassed people in chat rooms, like...
No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
When I put on the mask, people spank me.
Now's not the time for fear. That comes later.
My pussy comes later. Your pussy comes all the time.
I am the League of Shadows.
You're the League of Pussy. Sounds like he's got a dildo in his asshole.
Marion Cotillard was in it, and she was decent. It was a nice little twist that she was Talia the whole time. It didn't really add anything to the story, but it was a nice little twist. I didn't like her death though.
My father's work is done.
The plot was kind of silly, but I liked it. I don't know why Bane didn't just detonate the bomb like the second he had access to the trigger. Like he said he wanted to see the city crumble before it finally blew up. Maybe he could have just let it rot for like a week and then blow it up. Overall, this is a good movie. I liked how it's dark. I liked the characters. There are plenty of touching sequences between Alfred and Bruce. I liked all the action. I liked the story for the most part. I liked the twist. I liked the performances. I liked how it tied in with the last movies. I liked how it wrapped everything up. I liked the soundtrack. I liked how epic it was. It's a good movie, and I know you're waiting for a but there is no but. It's a good movie, and I don't have much bad to say about it. The only thing that legitimately bothered me was how the fucking aspect ratio kept changing. Chris Nolan does this in every movie, and it pisses me off. Sometimes it's letterboxed, and sometimes it isn't. This is because Chris Nolan shoots on regular film cameras, but then when he films epic scenes, he switches to IMAX cameras. It's so distracting. Just shoot the whole movie with an IMAX camera. I know it's hard, but this letterbox shit is pissing me off. Besides that, there are very few things about this movie that make me angry. You know what makes me angry, though? Fanboys. Fanboys who say this movie sucked, or it was predictable, because they analyzed every shot in the trailer and were like, oh, that's Talia al Ghul. These people deserve to die. They complain that something is too predictable because they know everything about the comic and the movie in advance, because they researched the shit out of it, and then when the movie does something unexpected, they get pissed off because it wasn't accurate to the comic book. Who gives a shit? Why didn't the CIA use radars? I don't know. Maybe they did. Is using radars gonna deactivate the bomb? The stock market exchange attack is clearly shown during the day, and then it suddenly turns to night 4 minutes later. But they showed it was getting dark outside. You could tell the sun was kind of going down, and then they go through that tunnel, and they're in the tunnel for a while, and then they come out of the tunnel and it's night. Didn't bother me. When and how did Bane find out Batman's identity? Everyone assumes Bane found out from Talia, because Talia was the son of Ra's al Ghul, and Ra's al Ghul knew, except Talia never really met her father or something like that. I mean, sure, there were like 1,000 other League of Shadows guys who knew that Bruce Wayne was Batman. They make it clear that, like, the entire League of Shadows knows who Batman is. So I guess I kind of shot that one down. Why does a prison exist where people can possibly climb to freedom? Well, they say in the movie it's like virtually impossible to break out, and no one has. The only two that broke out were Talia and Bruce in that one scene, because they're important characters in the plot and the rest of them aren't. For the most part, it's meant to torture people, make them think that they can break out, but they really can't, and most of them wind up dying when they try to. I mean, there's other shit too, but like, my god. It's fine! The only part that really bothered me is locking the entire Gotham police force in the sewer. That was just odd. I even agree this plot has tons of holes in it and shit. But in the end, does that really bother me? No. The character stuff makes it good. The action, the tension it builds up, the fact that Gotham becomes like this post-apocalyptic world. I love all this shit. It's a little bloated, it's a little sloppy, but overall, to someone like me who watched this series since the beginning, it was very satisfying. And if the movie entertained me, and if it felt like it had genuine emotion and heart, then I don't give a shit if the movie turned from day to night in 4 minutes. Cause while you're watching it, you don't think about these things. Cause you're so engaged in the story, and the epic scale of it. I don't like to make excuses for the bad shit in this series. I don't like to sound like a fanboy. But I'm a fan of these movies. I mean, with faults and all. Even me. Aren't I just allowed to enjoy a movie? No, fuck you!